Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Attorney Sharp Raleigh with a series on answering questions what we are getting on our forum, SP Law forum. The link is below, and I will also put the questions of the person below, and hopefully I'm able to I can answer you those questions as we go. And since we get a lot of questions when uh, on those forums, sometimes I like to write about it, but right now it's a little bit busy with H1b season, so I'm just giving you quick videos on this. I got if an H1b is changing to H4 EAD, the question is basically moving from H4 EAD to H1. um, I wanted to know if someone goes on, let's say someone is on H1 and then they move to H4 and ultimately the EAD, can they move back to the H4, to the H1, I'm sorry, can they move back to the H1 and not be subject to the cap? And what happens if they move to H1 and they leave for maternity leave and things like that? So these are two separate issues that we are getting here. So I wanted to kind of give a quick answer on that. First of all, once you are in the H1B cap exam, you are under the cap exam. So as long as you don't pass 6 years, and even if you pass 6 years and you have an I-140, you can always come back usually. Not always, but there are some limitation within 6 years. So for example, Mr. X or Mrs. X got an H1, was an H1B. 2 years down the road, she wants to go on H4 and H4 EAD. By the way, it's H4 the status, not the EAD. The EAD is just something because she's eligible for that. So she works on H4 for 1 or 2 years, and ultimately she gets a job somewhere, but they want to put her on H1. So does that, the question is she cap exempt? Yes, she's cap exempt. She can actually come back on that H1. Of course, it will be always better to stay on the H4 EAD because there are a lot of more potential. But if that person wants to move on H1 back, she is cap exempt or he is cap exempt. I'm talking here, whichever spouse is on the H4. And they can just easily, what they need to do is a new employment under cap exempt, transfer status from H4 to H1. As simple as that. If it is done properly and the premium, within 3-4 weeks, that person will be back on H1 if it is approved. So there's no big difficulties going back on your H1. Now, if you pass the 6 years, and you're reaching close to the 6 years, then it's not a good idea to actually move on to the H1 unless you have an I-140 that will give you another 3 years of extension. But that's a different issue. The other thing I wanted to let you know, it's very important to know, which is a good point. While you're on H4, your time on H1 doesn't get, you don't lose time on the H1. For example, let's say you have you use 3 years under the H1 and you use 3 years under the H4 EAD, you use only 3 years of the H1, not 6 years, even if you stay in the US. And that's an advantage actually to move to an H4 EAD. So just to answer this quick question we had on the forums, as SPLO forum. So good luck to all of the H4 EADs and H1B out there. And anything I told you today is for educational purposes only. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. The number to our office, 510-742-5887. And no attorney-client relationship is created.